Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Terry White, worldwide photography evangelist here at Adobe. It's my pleasure to be streaming to you live once again. Last week, we were not live because we were all in a group meeting in San Francisco, and everyone was traveling back on Friday or Saturday, so just couldn't do our master classes live last week, but we're back, and we're doing them live this week and next week and for the foreseeable future, unless something happens. So with that said, for those of you who are new, welcome to Adobe. Welcome to the master classes. Sorry for the 1 or 2 minute delay. I was literally just looking at something on my phone that I was going to show, and I looked up at the clock and it was like 11:01. Whoa, or my time 11:01. I was like, wait, whoa, you should be like live right now. So sorry for the delay. And with that said, let's see what else. If you're new, you can continue watching. I see some people chiming in over on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, you could be watching on Twitter. You could be watching on LinkedIn. You could be, I think I'm streaming live on Twitch again today. I don't know. It's one of the destinations I put in. But wherever you're watching from, great. You can hang out there, or you can watch and be a part of the main chat on b.net/Adobe Live. That's where I will be handling the main chat today. And if you are comfortable where you are, like I said, I see people saying good morning and hello, sir, and so forth and so on. Hey, Kevin Stewart, for example, and Tim Dalton and Stephen and Barbara. Great to have you all here. Barbara from Nashville. Great to have you all here, but I may not get a chance to look at that window because I have to pay attention to this window. So with that said, today we're going to be taking a look at kind of a follow-up to 2 classes I did in the past, like past month or so. One was 10 things you didn't know were in Photoshop, and it was just kind of like 10 random things that either are hidden features or they're kind of buried and you wouldn't discover them on your own. Maybe you knew them, maybe you didn't. But that was a fun class, and it got a lot of people responded to it favorably. So I did a follow-up because when I listed the 10 things, I never know how long something's going to take. So I always give myself a few more just in case I run out of things, but still have more time because the masterclass has to be an hour. So I had 20 things in my list. And thankfully, the first class technically ended right at 10. Like I got 10 in an hour and it worked out perfectly with demonstrations and everything and questions. And so I said, well, I got 10 more. Why not do 10 more things you didn't know in Photoshop? So that was the second class I did. And I thought, why limit it to Photoshop? Why not do the same thing for Lightroom and Lightroom Classic? So that's what we're doing today. Now, I don't quite have 20, but I got like 15. So if we run out of things, I'll keep going. You might get more than 10 today, but hopefully I can get you at least those 10. And if we have enough for another class, we'll do a part 2. We'll do 10 more things just like I did the first time. All right. So I see a bunch of people in the chat already. Rose and Mustakim, if I'm saying that correctly, and Kathy and Steve and Robert and Cody Bear is our moderator. Great. Glad to have you guys all here in Adobe Live. Let's go ahead, and I don't like to spend too much time up front. Let's just go ahead and dive right into what the 10 things are, and they're in no particular order. Just kind of as I thought of them, I listed them. All right, so switching over to my desktop here. Let's get rid of that, switch over. And so I'm in Lightroom Classic. I've also got my iPad up. Oh, there we go. My iPad up as well in the same album, same collection, same album. And I have my phone to show something on my phone as well. I'll bring that up a little bit later when we get to that thing. And I think that's it. Oh, and one more. I also have Lightroom because there's a couple things that are in Lightroom that aren't in Lightroom Classic. So everything's in the same album, same photos. We'll just get to those things as we get them. And if it's a specific Lightroom thing, I'll talk about it in Lightroom because some of the things are only in Lightroom Classic. Some of the things are only in Lightroom. If I don't mention that, then they're in both. Just assume they're in both. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about actually is only in Lightroom Classic. So let's go ahead and dive into that. And it's actually one of my favorite modules. It doesn't get a lot of love, like people could care less about it, but I actually like this module. I always have, because I'm a geek. It's like the map module. So the map module is designed to show you where your pictures were taken, like where you were standing, where the camera was. So for example, if we go back to this photo that I just clicked on, let's go full screen on it. This looks like part of an HDR. Oh, yes, definitely unedited HDR, one of the frames of an HDR image that I was going to put together, unedited, and this was taken in Iceland. And the reason that I know that this particular photo has geo coordinates in it, so for example, before you were doing a lot of smartphone photography, or before I was doing a lot of smartphone photography, I was using my DSLR at the time, and I had a GPS module attached to it. So that way, as I'm snapping the pictures, the GPS coordinates are being embedded in the metadata. Now that happens automatically with smartphones, and there's, I'm going to show you a tip, but there's you don't really think about adding the GPS to your camera anymore, and I'm going to talk about that tip in just a minute. Like I don't ever carry my GPS for my camera anymore because I don't need it. All right, so let's go back. And how would I know that this photo has geo coordinates in it? Well, if you look at the little, I forgot what these are called, these little icons at the bottom right-hand corner of the image, and we're going to get to some of these hidden things here as well. The one that looks like a little signpost, like you would hold up a sign, it's got a little handle, a little rectangle. That's letting me know that that photo has GPS coordinates. In other words, this photo to the right of it does not have GPS coordinates. So I took this photo, and Victoria took this photo. She was with me, and she didn't have a GPS on her camera, so she didn't get the GPS coordinates in her photo. But mine did. So if I click on that little signpost, that will take me to the map, and it will take me to the location on the map where that photo was taken. So that was the little harbor I was and standing in front of. And if I hover over the little yellow icon, it shows me that the photos that were taken in that spot. Now, like I said, there are 2 more photos that were taken in the exact same spot, but they don't have the GPS coordinates. So here's little known thing number 1. Is that even if your camera didn't have a GPS, even if you didn't take any smartphone photos, and those don't have, because you don't have a GPS, you didn't take any, so you don't have any photos with a GPS. That doesn't mean you can't add the GPS coordinates with the map. So all you'd have to do is search in the upper right-hand corner, search the map for wherever you want to go in the world, wherever you took your pictures. And then once you find that location, and you might have to do a little scrolling around to get to the exact spot where you were, you can drag the photos onto the map to add the GPS coordinates to them. All right, so for example, if I take these 2 photos, like I'm still in the film strip, if I take these 2 photos behind my head here, let me move over to the right. If I grab those 2 photos that don't have the GPS coordinates, all I have to do to add them is simply drag them to the same spot or anywhere else if I was standing somewhere else along the way. And that will add, now it says 3 photos. So if I go back and look at this photo, for example, it now has that little flag letting me know that it has the GPS coordinates. So I already had some photos there. I at least had 1 photo. But even if you didn't have any photos there, you can still just drag them to that spot on the map, and it will add the GPS coordinates to them. So it was just easier for me to have at least 1. That way I can click on the little thing, takes me right to that spot, drag all the rest there, and I'm good to go. And that's a bonus tip. You're out shooting with your DSLR mirrorless, your camera that doesn't have a GPS, and you're taking your amazing shots. Take your phone out and take at least 1 shot. It doesn't even have to be good. Just to mark the location, just snap a photo. Then when you get back to Lightroom Classic, import all your great DSLR mirrorless images and import the smartphone, the iPhone image or Android image, whatever it is, with the GPS, and drag all 500 photos onto that spot, if you were taking 500 photos in that spot. And they would all get the GPS coordinates added to them automatically. And yes, Bruce is right. Yep, we're in Classic, so Lightroom does not have a map module. Lightroom does have GPS coordinates, like it will show you in the info the location, but it doesn't have a map module to drag photos into and add them to the map and all. It doesn't have a map. So this is a Lightroom Classic specific thing. And this is, again, I just love doing this because it's just fun. I often get people say, where was this? And I can actually show them exactly where I was when I took the photo. So now if I click on one of these little icons up here, it'll take me to that spot. It'll show me that I've got 3 photos, and I can even arrow between the 3 photos to see which 3 photos were taken in that spot. So whether it's 2, 3, 300, 3,000, whatever it is, you can go ahead and do that. All right. So that's taking advantage of the map model. And by the way, over here on the right-hand side, you can also, if you know the GPS coordinates, if you know the longitude and latitude, you can put it in the metadata. So if you said, oh, I can't find it on the map, oh, but I know if I go to Google Maps or whatever and find the map coordinates, steal the longitude and latitude, paste them in, and you did the same thing. All right, next thing. So Mike's telling me, I'm a fan of an app called My Tracks. It writes GPX file at locations on a regular basis, and then you can, which you can define, and then import that GPX file into Lightroom Classic, not Lightroom, and it will coordinate the locations taken at the time. Yep, I used to use, or I still have an app on my phone that I used to do the same thing with. Let me see, it's probably in my navigation folder, and I'll tell you the name of that app that I use. And it does the same thing. It's called, nope, that's not it. I don't see it. But anyway, I have one. Maybe it's in my photography folder. Hold on. If I knew the name, I could search for the name, but I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head. It's buried in a folder somewhere because I don't use it anymore, but it was a great app. It worked perfectly. And it does the same thing. You just walk around with the app. You have to launch it once and tell it to start tracking, and you just put your phone back in your pocket. And as you walk around, here it is. I found it. It's called Geotag Photos 2. And let me see if I can share this app. That'll give me the link. Let me see if this will work. See if I can paste my clipboard between 2 computers, because I'm on a different computer commenting. And that did not work. Okay, but anyway, I will, it's called Geotag Photos 2 on the App Store. That's the one I've used, and you're absolutely right. Oh, I could actually show it to you. Hang on, since I do have my phone connected. Let's zoom out. And let's bring the phone over, because I was going to show you something on the phone in a minute. But anyway, this is the app. It's called Geotag Photos 2, so that way you at least know what the icon looks like. And if you go into it, I haven't been into it in a while, so it's going to ask me things. Yep, my time zone's changed. Oh, and this is another thing too. It allows you to set your camera time, which is another tip that's coming up if we have time for it. So it sets your camera time to wherever you are, because a lot of times we forget to change our camera time when we travel abroad or travel to a different time zone. And therefore the photos, the log's not correct, because it's saying, hey, at 11:15, you took a photo at this spot, but your camera thinks you were at 8:15, so it doesn't jive. So this also reminds you to set your camera time to that specific time so the log is correct. And then when you say start, and it says logging interval every 2 minutes, you can get out of the app, put your phone back in your pocket, and as you walk around taking photos, it's logging where you are every 2 minutes. And then it uses that log in Lightroom, because Lightroom has this ability. Right, this is another definitely little known feature. So right here at the bottom, load track log. Oh my God, no one would ever discover that or what it's for. And when you load the track log from the app, against a collection of photos, it will see the times that each photo was taken, look at the log, and add the GPS coordinates to it. So that's another way to do it. I prefer the iPhone trick because everywhere you stop to really take pictures, just take one with your phone and away you go. But if you're like randomly on a photo walk, just taking pictures with your regular camera, and you don't have time to take out your phone every single shot or every single location, then a log is great, and now you can do it for your phone. Before they had apps for your phone to do this, Sony used to make an actual little GPS that was like this big. You would carry, like I used to put it on my hat or attach it to my hat. So I walked around and it would actually use the GPS to create the same kind of log. Now you can just do it with your phone. Okay, what's the name of the app? The name of the app is called, once again, because I already forgot it that quick. It's called Geotag Photos 2, like the number 2. So Geotag Photos 2. Someone can type that in the chat. Okay, and then you get your track log that way. And it's great for when you're doing a lot of walking around and photo walks and everything. Okay, that's a lot of time on that one tip. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so let's jump to this one. I have just a bunch of random photos here. Thank you, Cody Bear. That's what it's called, Geotag Photos 2. It's available at least on iOS, probably on Android as well. This is one that every time I show it, people freak out because they just didn't pay attention to it, and it's right there in front of your face, but you just don't know what it's for. And that's what this little painter can is. It's called the painter. And this little painter can is for applying certain things to 2 or more photos randomly, and quickly. So for example, the most visual way to show it is when you click on it, then you get the ability to choose from this menu all the things you want, or the things you get to choose one thing that you want it to be able to do. So you can use it to apply keywords, labels, flags, ratings, metadata. So if you put in a bunch of metadata and you want to apply it to different photos, but you don't know which ones yet, settings, rotation, and add them to the target collection. So if I say rotation, for example, and I set my rotation to counterclockwise, which means turn the photo left. Now when I use the sprayer, as I spray photos, it will rotate them left. And I don't have to do them in order. I can spray a bunch of photos and it will rotate them left. So that is what the sprayer does, the painter, I should say, does. It allows you to do any one of those things I chose to a lot of photos at one time without having to select them first and then apply it, and so forth and so on. So this is just, it's the painter. It's one of those things that it's way back in the day, and people freak out every time I show it because they're like, what's that? What does that do? Where'd you get that from? So the painter, and then once you're done with it, you just put it back. So you pick it up, use it, set it to what you want, use it, then put it back down, and away you go. All right, that was number 2, the painter. Number 3, and this is kind of one that my Photoshop users will appreciate, because we're used to this in Photoshop, but we're not used to doing this in Lightroom. So for example, if I pop over to Photoshop for a second here, and let me just grab a photo. Oh, wait, Photoshop's not even up here all the way. Let's just grab a photo. So here's a stock photo I think I have. Yep. Great. Okay, so let's say that I make a selection. So I'm going to go in and select subject. All right, I'm assuming it's going to pick the guy and part of the workout equipment because it can't really distinguish him versus the whatever. Okay, fine, whatever. It made the selection. How do you get out of that selection? Well, in most other applications, you just click off of it onto something else. Click onto the background, click onto whatever, and it would deselect. But depending on the tool you're in, that doesn't work in Photoshop. I'm in the Move tool, clicking off of it, clicking on the canvas, I'm clicking away, it doesn't deselect. So years ago, we learned a keyboard shortcut, Command D, PC Control D, for deselect. If you go to your select menu, it's there, deselect, Command D, PC Control D. And that will always deselect. And when I use this the most? when some little stupid thing is selected on my canvas somewhere and I don't even know that it's selected. I'm trying to paint, I'm trying to apply something and it won't apply it to the whole image because there's still some little leftover selection in the image. And I'm like, I don't even try and find it anymore. I just hit Command D and I know that will, whatever selected will deselect. So that way I never have to think about it. Well, guess what? If you go to Lightroom, and this is, so let me back up a little bit. The painter is only in Lightroom Classic, not in Lightroom. The deselect, I can't remember if this is in Lightroom. We'll go look. But let's say I select all the photos. Command A, select all. And I don't want them all selected anymore because what happens by accident is when they're all selected and you go into the develop module and you start doing things, if auto sync is turned on, it will start doing it to all of the photos, and I don't want that. So same thing, if I go to my, I don't even know where it is here. It's probably under edit. Yep. If I go under edit and select, it's not deselect, it's just select none, is the same keyboard shortcut. PC Control D, Mac Command D. And if I hit Command D, that deselects all the photos. That is my favorite thing about Photoshop and Lightroom when I'm working with a bunch of photos or a bunch of selections, to quickly deselect them. Now, this is a hidden one. This is a bonus one. That was number 3. I'm going to do a couple bonus ones. So let's say I select, I want all the photos except these 3. Now, it's easier to select 3 than it is to select 30 or 40 or 50. So one of the tricks is select the ones you don't want and then go to the edit menu and invert the selection. That means select everything else except the 3 that I have selected. And it does just that. So sometimes it's the easier option just to invert the selection. All right, and of course we did select none, and one that I've been doing instinctively that I should probably just show you is select all. So I do Command A on the Mac, PC Control A, and that just selects all the photos in a folder or a collection or an album or whatever. Now, like I said, in Lightroom, I don't know that those options are there. They may be. Let's see. Yep, they're there. Select none, Command D, select all. The only one that's not there is invert. So it's got the same Command D for deselect or select none. And it's got the same, I know Command A was there because I use it all the time. So that works in both. Command A, Command D, and Lightroom Classic has the bonus select, invert the selection. All right, here's the bonus for selections. And this is one, Benjamin Ward, he's a Lightroom guy at Adobe. He showed this one time and I caught it like in passing on one of his videos, and it was life-changing. It was one of those things where, oh my God, I'll use this now every day because I learned it on just a random video. Okay, select all. I want to work on this Eiffel Tower photo. That's the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, by the way. Looking straight up at and it's a not tennis. Is it a tennis ball? Yeah, tennis ball hanging down there. Anyway, they were doing a tournament. I want to work on this one, but all of them are selected. So we know Command D deselects, but then I'd have to click on that one again. Well, here's one that I did not know until a few years ago. If you click on the actual image, this part I didn't know. It makes it what Adobe refers to as the most selected photo of the selection. See how it's a little lighter than all the rest? If I click on this waterfall, it's a little lighter than all the rest. That I knew. What I didn't know was that if I just want to work on the waterfall photo and deselect all the other photos at the same time, don't click on the image, click on the frame, the light color, and that will deselect all the other photos and leave the one you clicked on selected. I can't tell you how much that has changed the way I use Lightroom Classic, because that happens all the time. I select everything to do something to it, then I want to deselect, but keep one selected. That is the one I need. All right, bye, Vicky. Have a good sleep. All right, next up. That is not the case in, hang on, I don't think it's the case. Well, maybe it is. Hold on, let's see. Nope, that is not the case in Lightroom. It's only in Lightroom Classic. Okay, while we're here, I selected all. Of course, I can deselect, Command D. But here's just a Lightroom tip when you're looking at your grid, is that if I hit the letter G, it toggles between two displays in the grid in Lightroom, not Lightroom Classic. The first one looks like Lightroom Classic, where each thumbnail is the exact same size, no matter if it's tall, wide, whatever. But if you want to get rid of all that space and look at the image filling the grid, then hit the letter G again, and that will make the thumbnails fill the grid. So sometimes I prefer looking at them this way. Sometimes I want the information around them, like if they're picked, if they're star rated, so forth and so on. I need to see that. But luckily, it's just a keyboard shortcut away. The letter G toggles between those two to let me see them full screen without the display, without the noise, or no, I should say full icon without the noise, or the noise. If I need the noise, I need all that stuff around them to see. All right, so that's just a quick Lightroom bonus tip. All right, that was still number 3. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is the quick collection. A lot of people see this quick collection, but they don't know what it's for. They don't know how to use it. They don't know, like, what do you do with this? So back in the day when the quick collection was first created, I looked at it as a temporary collection. I need to put some images together. They're in different places to export out to give to a client, to send to a gallery, to put in a photo contest, to do whatever. So rather than having to go through each folder and album, picking the ones I wanted, and then exporting them one by one, or making a collection that I would end up not needing after this one thing happens this one day, that's what the quick collection does for you. So if I go to my quick collection, I can already see that there are 41 images in it already. And those 41 images are just random images, like I was showing the quick collection one day, and I was just showing these random images in it. These images have nothing to do with each other. However, if I want to add something to the quick collection, let's say I want to add this person holding a laptop to that quick collection. Well, I could drag it in there, but there is something called the target collection. So when the quick collection first came out, when it was first introduced way, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, back in Lightroom, it was the target collection. There was no choice. It was the target collection. What does that mean? If I right click on the quick collection and set it as the target collection, that means, first of all, you'll see the little plus sign now next to it. And that means that any photo or photos I select and hit the letter B as in Bravo will automatically add that photo to the quick collection. So that's how you could go through your random folders or random collections, select photos B, 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 and it would throw them in the quick collection fast without you having to drag them all the way up there. So now it says 42 because I just added that one at the end. So that is number one. It's a little known thing that A, what's the quick collection? B, how do you make it the target collection if it isn't already? And it is by default unless you've changed it. And C, this is the hidden thing. I honestly did not know this was here until not too recent, not recently. I found this out. If you right click on the quick collection, you get an option to save the quick collection as a regular collection. So if I say, hey, I kind of like this grouping of, whatever these 42 photos are, and I would like to make this a permanent collection. I want to use this again. Then you could say, save as I'll call this my quick collection demo. Demo, okay. And notice I get an option to clear it after saving. So in other words, make a new permanent collection called Quick Collection Demo, and then clear out the quick collection, which doesn't delete them, it just takes them out of this one collection, and I'm good to go. So that will create that. It will empty out the one we just had there. And somewhere in my list here is probably if I go down to the queue, queues. Did I pass it? There it is. Quick collection demo is 42 images in it. Okay, so now that collection exists permanently until I delete it or do something with it. And again, whatever photos are in the quick collection, they could be in multiple collections. It doesn't delete them. It doesn't change anything about them. And I can now go and say, hey, I want these rose pictures in there too. And and now those 3 pictures are in the quick collection. So I'm starting over again. So quick collection is great when you need a collection, but you don't want to make it permanent. I showed how to make it permanent if you decide later you do. You can also right click on it and clear it, which is great. It's a fast way to do it, because also just hitting the letter B again will remove them if they're still selected. And lastly, I mentioned earlier that the quick collection was the target collection by default, and there was no way to change it. Like, it was just you hit B and it always put them in the quick collection. Now any collection can be a target collection. The quick collection will always be here for whatever you want to use it for, or never use it again. But now, for example, this collection I've been working on, this 10 things you didn't know about Lightroom, has 65 photos in it. If I right click on it, I can set it as the target collection. I use this way more than I use the quick collection, because a lot of times I'm building a collection on purpose, like this one, to use for a class, to use for a presentation, to use for a slideshow, to use for a demo, to use for whatever. And it's a collection I want to keep, so I just create the collection right off the bat, knowing I want to keep it. Then I set it as the target collection, so that now when I go to a different collection, and let's say I want to take this one, and I now want to add that one to my 10 things you didn't know, instead of me having to drag it, just hit the letter B, boom, it's added it to the 10 things you didn't know, and there it is at the end. So, quick collection number 4, quick collection, save quick collection, and set any collection as the target collection. And only one collection can be the target collection at a time. So, if I set a different one as the target collection, then this one is no longer the target collection, because you only have one at a time. Now, what's different about Lightroom? Lightroom, and I didn't know this, I found this one out not too long ago. I knew that Lightroom didn't have a quick collection, but I didn't know that you could set a album as the target collection. Like, I found that out just right clicking on an album one day, and oh, there it is, set as target collection. So you can do the same thing in Lightroom that I just showed you in Lightroom Classic with any collection. You can even make a collection called Quick Collection if you want, and use it for the same thing. Or album. You just have to make it manually first. But then there's one thing that is different. If I set this one as my target collection, great. I don't see the plus sign, so I don't know how I would know that. Oh, it puts a little black box around it. So see that little black border? That's how I know that album is set as the target collection. And the other thing I didn't like is just different, is that if I click on a photo and it's not B, it's not Bravo, it's T as in Tango. So hitting the letter T will add the image to the target collection in Lightroom, versus B as in Bravo in Lightroom Classic. Now, if this sounds confusing, like you're like, oh my God, why do they make it different? Why do they have to keep these keyboard shortcuts different? It doesn't affect you, because most likely you're using one or the other. You're not using both. The only people that affect are instructors, people that have to show both. Otherwise, you would just use the one you're using. So if you're in Lightroom, you just remember T. If you're in Lightroom Classic, you just remember B. That's it. So I know I hate it when they make things that are the same, different names and different keyboard shortcuts and all that. But at the end of the day, it only affects people that have to use both. Okay. Finding out about the target collection has totally changed the way I organize photos. Great, Mike. I'm glad it helped you. I don't know if you found out about it today or before. Anyway, next up is number 5, super resolution. So remember these photos that Victoria took? Well, these aren't I know these aren't the originals. These are PSD edits she gave me because they aren't the original raw files she shot. And when I look at them, they look okay, they look good. But here's the thing that threw me off right off the bat is that when I look at them in loop view, they're, let me go to 100%. Nope. Anyway, when I looked at them in loop view the first time, they were smaller than mine. Like, in other words, I looked at mine, and then I happened to look over at the resolution, and sure enough, mine is 7360 by 4912, and hers, the one she gave me, are only 2560 by 1709. So she exported out a smaller size, no big deal. But let's say that this was all I had. Someone gave me a photo, this is all I had, I don't have a higher enough resolution to print the bigger size that I want to print. You have something built into Lightroom and Lightroom Classic called Super Resolution, and it's in Camera Raw as well. If you right-click on a photo and you go to Enhance, in Enhance, you will see Super Resolution. And what this simply does is it doubles the resolution of a photo. Whatever the resolution is, it will now be a new photo that's double. So it doesn't affect the original. It makes a new one. So when I click Enhance, it will do it. It will usually put it right next to the original. And it makes it, first of all, I love that it makes it a RAW file. So whatever format it was in, it's now going to be a RAW file. It's a DNG. It brings over all the characteristics, all the editing, everything you've ever done to it. It makes a new one. But now when I look at this one is 5120 by 3418 versus the original, which was only 2560 by 1709. So it literally doubled the resolution. I know what you're thinking. I'm greedy. Can I have another one? So if I right click on the one I already doubled, can I double it again? And the answer is no. It's already been done, but there's a workaround. Lightroom won't, I don't know why. Some engineer made a decision you shouldn't be able to do it twice. It won't let you do it to one you've already done. But there's nothing stopping you from exporting it out and bringing it back into Lightroom and doing it again on the new one. So you just can't do it to the one you've already done in Lightroom, but certainly you can export it out, bring it back in, do it as many times as you want. I know that for a fact, one reason they might have done that is they can almost guarantee that when you do it once, the quality is the same. So how good is the upscaling quality? And that's what I'm talking about, Christopher. It's amazing. Like, so that's what this does, is that you don't get like the traditional when you do it in, I'm flipping between the two, you can't tell. So I'm literally flipping between them and they look identical. So that is the reason why they probably only let you do it once, because that way they don't have to worry about, well, maybe a second or third time it won't be identical. So that's probably why. All right. Yes, Oliver, they do it a bunch of times on CSI. All right, so enhance, double the resolution, especially if somebody hands you a little small photo or scan or whatever you need to work on. Now you can get it bigger. All right, yep, now you can see those UFOs clearly. And God, we watch a show called FBI, and it's like the things they do in milliseconds. I'm like, what computer systems are you guys using that you can look at a license plate on this little grainy security camera, see what it is, 2 seconds later, know the owner, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on. Like, come on. I work with this stuff every day. Nothing's that good or that fast yet that's available to the public. Maybe the government has different things. Okay, anyway, next up, that was number 5. Number 6. I am going to go and do it on this one. Okay, number 6. It's not in Lightroom Classic. It's not in Lightroom on desktop. It's in Lightroom on mobile. So this is a mobile-only feature for number 6. If I switch over to my iPad, like I said, has the same collection. A lot of times, as a photographer, you should have a good eye for your own work, that you could go through your work and figure out, oh, that's a great photo. That's an okay photo. That's a bad photo. Like, you can already figure out which ones you like the best. But let's say there are 2 or 3 that are very close. And it could go either way. Like you could, number 1 looks, that's the winner. Or number 2, I'd be okay if that were the winner too. Number 3, so forth and so on. So how would you like a second opinion? How would you like an AI to look at your photos and tell you what's best? Like what it thinks is best. You may not agree. We don't always agree with AI, but at least you get another opinion and you can take it for what it's worth. So there's a feature on mobile, on phone and tablet called Best Photos. I don't know why it's not on desktop yet. It's probably coming, but it's not on Lightroom desktop yet. And it's probably not going to be in Classic because it relies on the images being in the cloud. But here are all these images, and I could scroll through them and I could figure out which ones I like best. But I want the AI to tell me which ones it thinks are best. So I go to the little flyout menu for any album, and you'll see an option called Choose Best Photos. And I tap on that. There we go. And it starts analyzing the album. Now this was going to be dependent on your internet connection and how many images are in the album, so forth and so on. So this may take a second, or may take 10 seconds. It may take a minute. But here it is. It came back and said, I think these are the best photos in this album. And again, I may or may not agree. But at least I got a shot now of what it thinks. There's a quality threshold slider, so you can actually drag it further to the right if you want it to like be more stringent. And I also like that it said, and I kind of like these too, the ones at the bottom that are in the other category, but the ones at the top, it thinks for that album are the best. And I noticed it picked only portraits. So there's tons of landscapes in there. There's flowers. There's all kinds of stuff in there. But nope. Said it didn't think those were good or not the best. It thought these were the best. So I can like drag the quality threshold slider over. And what's interesting is when I drag it over higher, it starts giving me like different photos. That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. Higher values will select fewer photos, but why is it selecting different photos? So again, take it for what it's worth. If I bring it way down, bring it kind of in the middle, but at least you get an idea. And what is it using? I'm not the engineer, but I'm guessing it's using things like composition, lighting, the background, is it in sharp? Is it in focus? So forth. It's like it's using all the things, again, as a photographer, you would look for in what's a best photo. Okay, so I only got like 15 minutes left, so let's scoot through the rest of these. That was number 6. Oh, we only got like 4 more. So number 7 is a Lightroom only feature. So it's not Lightroom Classic, but it'll work in desktop or mobile. I'm gonna switch over to Lightroom. I'm going to go up to my all photos. In other words, show me all the photos in this album. And there's just a bunch of random photos from my camera roll in here as well. Not in this album, but in Lightroom Cloud, period. So of my 79,356 photos, it's showing them all to me now. And what I'm going to do is I want to find some photos that were never keyworded. In other words, it uses AI to figure out what a photo is based on AI. So for example, if I say, hey, I'm looking for waterfalls, then it will go through all my photos and show me waterfalls. And I don't know if I see a count anywhere. So show me 534 of my 79,000 photos it thinks has waterfalls in them. Now here's the thing about AI. We know that AI doesn't always get it right. Like, duh. But if it gave me 534 results and 50 of them aren't waterfalls, what do I care? I don't care if I got to scroll past a photo that's not a waterfall, because I'm using this to find photos. So it found the waterfalls, great. Even if some of them aren't waterfalls, fantastic. So then I started thinking, okay, what about skyscrapers? Like, show me all the skyscrapers. And boom, there they are. All the ones it thinks are skyscrapers. So, like, I wouldn't call this a skyscraper, but the stuff in the background of the bridge is. So again, it's just great to be able to find photos that you didn't keyword. So it's awesome to be able to do that. And that's because it's, again, using AI in the cloud to do that. That's why it only works in Lightroom. Okay, next up. Number 8 is the Lightroom camera. So this is where I had my phone connected earlier. Let's get back to that. Face ID, phone, Lightroom, launching. And let's, I'm also going to switch. I think the next thing I'm going to show is in Lightroom Classic. So let's switch back to Classic. All right, let me show you my phone. So here's my phone, and I'm in Lightroom on my phone, just like I was on the iPad. And it has the same, by the way, the same feature for best photos. It's there. It's the third one from the bottom. Okay, but anyway, why I'm here in the phone is because this is another one that people just rarely think about when they bring up Lightroom on their phone, is that there's a camera icon in the lower right-hand corner. That blue icon, there's two. There's the import, just import images from wherever they are. And then there's the camera icon. The Lightroom camera is built in, and it gives you the ability to have yeah, my thing is dusty. Man, that thing needs to be dusty. Okay, it gives you the ability to have a more professional camera than the one that's built into your device. So when I say more professional, the quality is going to be the same, but the features that you get to choose from are going to be different. So I could put it on auto, and that will pretty much treat it like just the iPhone camera. But also I could put it on professional, HDR, long exposure, depth capture. I get all these choices. So if I do a professional, then I can set my exposure, my shutter speed, my ISO, my white balance, so forth and so on. I can choose between the wide angle and the telephoto. That's what the button is to the right of the shutter. I can lock my exposure. I can even shoot in different filters. So I can shoot in, shoot in black and white if I wanted to, but lots of choices. And my favorite reason for using the using this camera when it first came out was that it was the first camera, one of the first, that let you shoot in RAW all the way back to the iPhone 6S. iPhone 6S, iPhone 7. So back then, you could shoot in RAW. Even though Apple didn't add RAW to their camera until like the iPhone 13, 12, 13. And it's great, but this is giving you RAW years ago, back to this iPhone 6S, and of course Android as well, if your Android device supported shooting RAW. So you could toggle between RAW and JPEG, and when you shoot in RAW, it shoots in RAW using your camera, whatever quality your camera is. And of course, it's got a little level there, letting you know when your shot's level. So it's got all kinds of cool things. Now, we're going to take a deep dive on this and other camera settings in next week's class. Next week's class is understanding your camera settings. But just know that the Lightroom camera is there for you to use, and it adds them directly to Lightroom without going to the camera roll first. So there's another benefit, and they start syncing to the cloud. Okay, yep, and Apple still doesn't have RAW unless you buy a pro version of their phones. So there you go. All right, next up, that was number 8. Number 9, this is kind of just a fun one, is that a lot of people don't realize this is here. Let's scroll down. Let's grab some different photos. Let's grab these. Oh, hang on. These. Say I want to email those photos. Well, typically the first thing we would think of is, well, they're big, they're PSDs, they're large, and you probably want to export them out as JPEGs and then throw them in an email program. Well, Lightroom has email built in. Email photos, it's got an email photos feature right here. So when I say email photos, it will bring up the little address thing. You don't have to do any of this, by the way. It will let you pick the email program you want to use. And it will let you even size the JPEGs down that it's going to convert them to whatever size you want. You can even make different presets. And then when you hit send, it's probably going to have to launch my email program, which I don't think is running right now, but it will launch your email program. Let me see if mine's, yep, there it is, bouncing there. And then it will show you the window for the images that it wants to email. All you have to do is address it and put the subject in. So email photo was number 9, number 10. We're not going to wait for that. It's going to pop up a window and we will, no, we are going to wait for that. Because I got to wait for the email program to launch, and my email takes forever to launch because it's got millions of images in it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, number 10. I can't even set it up because I can't show you the photos. I may have to cancel this because I don't want to wait for it. Let's see what happens. God, okay, I should have left my email program running to show this because my email does take forever to launch for some reason. And it's launched, but it takes forever for the window to come up. I go through this every time I reboot my computer. Anyway, let me explain what number 10 is. I can do the setup for it, and then when it's ready, we can just show it. So number 10 is a feature called Match Tonal Exposures. So what it's for is like for people that are doing a shoot where they're shooting, like especially in studio, and you know this is that when you get into a studio setting, it takes you a few frames to get everything just right. Like you take a shot, oh, it's too dark, you just make some adjustments. Oh, it's too light, you make some adjustments, and you finally get the exposure the way you want it. Well, once that happens, what typically has happened is that one of your earlier shots that didn't have the right exposure is one that you really liked. And then the one, and yep, there's the email. So I knew it would pop up. There it is. Okay, so there's the email, and here are the photos that it downsized, and all I have to do is address it, and away it goes. Okay, that was not worth the wait. But anyway, that was it. All right, so now let's get to the tonal exposure demo. All right, here it is. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay, I want to show. All right, so anyway, I have these photos. So these are virtual copies of the same photo. I can actually make it smaller. So now what I want to do is I like the exposure with the blue frame around it. And the only reason I made virtual copies is so you can see the before and after. So I'm going to make the one with the blue. See how this one's darker than this one's darker than this one's darker. They're all darker. This is the exposure I like. So I'm going to click on that one to make it the most selected. We already learned that. And the other 4 are still selected. Now I'm going to head to the develop module. And in the develop module, I'm going to choose under photo, because it's only going to show you one at a time. So that's the one I like. I'm going to choose, actually it's not under photo, it's under settings. I'm going to choose match tonal exposure. And it's just a one-time click, or you use keyboard shortcut. What that will do is take the one that's the most selected and apply that exposure to all the rest. So I do that once and I get out of it. And now all the rest are lighter, and you can see the before and afters. That's why I made virtual copies, because there's no way for me to otherwise show it to you. So now they all kind of match that exposure, and you can see the one, like for example, these two, you can see the difference between them. So this is the one that got the exposure. This is the one that didn't. All right, folks, and that's my 10 things, and that's my time. So it worked out perfectly. So thanks for bearing with me while my email launched. Thanks for the 1 minute late start and hanging in there with me. Cheers, everyone, and stay tuned for our next Creative Cloud Masterclass or Evangelist, or I can't remember what's next. Cody can tell you what's next. But anyway, stay tuned. Cheers, everyone. Catch you on the next one.